So it was about a year and a couple months ago, and I came in here Sunday morning, and just to check it out, and I can't really, thinking back, I can't really think why I was so nervous about coming. I mean, like, I guess I was afraid I'd walk in, they'd, like, baptize me as I came in the door, something weird, like maybe sacrificing goats or something. So, but, like, looking back, I don't really know why I didn't want to come, because I had nothing to lose, but, I don't know. Okay, so I have to tell you that Crave was not what I expected. I couldn't locate a single hymn book. I didn't see any pews, and there were no stained glass windows. So it was very different from any of the churches I'd ever been to before, which was a good thing. So, and then I met the youth pastor and the worship leader. And if any of you have ever met these guys, you'll know what my reaction was. Robbie is he's about 9 feet tall, and he weighs probably somewhere around 100 pounds. And David is my height, and he has a man bag, a faux hawk, and a guitar.
Yeah, man bag!
The lesson was some kind of unheard of mix of like a story from the Bible mixed with like a personal anecdote from Robbie's days in college, which I never heard before. I was like, what? They can relate this to life? And so I left that day knowing one thing, which was absolutely key. It was that the place was welcoming. Crave was set up to target me right where I was, and like the people there were friendly. They were listening like cool music that I was into, and it was just, like I say, definitely not what I expected. And the best thing I found out is I was allowed to ask the questions that kept me from believing in a God. So go ahead and think about the questions you have right now, like about Christians, about God, about church. I mean, everyone has them, like everyone, even like the most devout Christian in the world has questions about this stuff. And then look around the room in the back, and you'll see a bunch of adult leaders. And any of them are willing to sit down with you guys and answer your questions, give them the best shot that they can. And that's one thing I thought was amazing, was that I set up an appointment with Robbie, like a couple weeks afterward or whatever, just to sit down and just ask him these questions that had been bugging me forever. And it wasn't like shunned. And so I could ask him the most like crazy, off the wall, like, sometimes like inappropriate, sometimes just like, I don't know, blasphemous questions. And he would answer them for me. And that was it was amazing to me. And it really helped me to gain an understanding of what this is all about and what Jesus claimed and all this stuff. And so through the questions I discovered another huge pillar in our faith, which is community. And my time with Robbie and David, I built relationships with them. They introduced me to people like Aaron and Brandon and Lars, and I gained some friends, and then like I could come and just hang out with people, which is awesome because we can't do this on our own. I mean, everyone feels lonely out there for once in a while, and it sucks. So it was really awesome to go to a church where I could find a bunch of people to hang out with, and they can answer my questions too, So life went on from there, and I found people who were willing to answer my questions in a cool church, and after a while, I believed in God. And I believed that he was the creator of everything, and he was all-powerful, and it was a sweet deal. I don't know if many know this either, but I'm not just a band nerd, I'm actually a regular nerd. As Jeremy pointed out, I am on the academic team at my school. So it's basically like a high school version of Jeopardy, where we go around and I wish I could call it a battle of the wits, but it's nothing like that, against other schools. And so one day I was, and Stephanie was on the team too, so we hung out all the time. And one day we were in Hawthorne, and I don't know if you guys have ever been there. Yeah.
All right.
Exactly. And we were there probably about an hour early, some weird bus schedule or whatever, and we had ended up in Hawthorne like an hour before the school even got out. So we're just sitting on the front lawn. It was, it's like a spring sport, like early spring, kind of in the basketball season, so it was pretty warm. So we're all sitting out on the grass, and we're sitting there talking stuff, and then they sent us to go get the buzzers, Stephanie and I. So we went over, across the lot and everything to get the buzzers off the bus, and I know she was actually kind of weird, and then we grabbed the buzzers and we're walking back, and she's like, she's kind of like nervous looking stuff. She's like, okay, Stacy, who was Robbie, our youth pastor's wife, she said, Stacy wants me to ask you if you're really a Christian. And I was like, well, that's a silly question. I believe in a God. I've been going to church. I've got all these cool friends. I know all the cool songs, and it's good stuff, right? So of course I'm a Christian. So I'm like, of course I was. That's what I told her. And she said, she was like glad, kind of relieved. She's like, okay, cool. I told her that, but she just wanted me to ask you, we're supposed to have a long conversation or whatever, and I was supposed to tell her that we had a long conversation. But she just wanted to make sure that you've accepted Jesus into your heart and everything. And without knowing it, she turned kind of my whole faith and comfort zone upside down with that statement, because I'd never really given that much thought. I mean, letting Jesus in your heart, accepting Jesus, I knew there was a God, and I went to his church, so what else was there, And so, of course, I had a bunch more questions. What did accepting Jesus mean? How do you accept Jesus? Had I accepted Jesus? All these I didn't know the answers to these things, And so that's where the community and the questions came in. So I would sit down with Robbie and hash this stuff out, and I'd hang out with Aaron and those guys and just talk with them and just see what's going on. And sorry. So basically I was left after all those questions with one, and it was, how do I accept Jesus? And the answer for me was clear, like the scripture I just read. If you confess with your mouth and believe with your heart that Jesus is Lord and God raised him from the dead, you'll be saved. And I confessed it with my mouth. That was easy. And the believing with my heart part was kind of a little bit weird. So the answer, and I didn't know how, it's kind of like, mystical. How have you be like, I know it from my heart. It's just something that we don't really get a lot of, especially as a junior in high school. So I decided that the answer was I would believe in God as soon as God made himself believable, if that makes sense. So, for instance, God would give me the strength to lift up a boulder off of a puppy dog, or save a bus from falling off a cliff, or something like that. And then I was like, okay, so cool, as soon as God does that, I'll be able to believe it with my heart, and then I've already confessed with the mouth, and then it's good to go, and I'm saved. So, without knowing